Well, hello once again, and I'm so glad, as I always say, to see all you people coming into the six screens here on Sunday. Well, my name's Rick Ferrin. I'm here at the Six Screens Control Panel up here in Massachusetts. And boy, I'll tell you what, we've been doing the programming now going on 20 years. In January of 2025, it'll be 20 years. And we're here because you're here. We've never missed a program on Saturday night. We missed a couple on Sunday, but only about two. But we're here because, a lot of people rely on this. This is really a format, one of the only formats really online for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses where they can come in and they can talk and speak up and we can converse with one another in real time. So it's really been a good way to communicate with people, especially those that have been leaving the watchtower. When this all came about years ago, before I started the six screens, there really wasn't any way, only through email. You could contact certain ones through email. And then we started the conference call before YouTube and Facebook went live with video. You had to do it like through a telephone line, which we did. And we've been doing this now for quite a while. So we're glad we've had so many people come through here, so many people that have been our listening audience for many years, many going all the way back to the very beginning. But I would say we've had thousands of people come through the six screens. This is where former Jehovah's Witnesses and doubting Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk every weekend right here on the six screens tele-network. Well, let's see what's going on. I'm going to put the convention. We won't talk about it. I'm going to put it up on the, it'll scroll across the bottom. But I just want everyone to be aware of the convention that we are having up here in 2025, August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, for former Jehovah's Witnesses. If that interests you at all, I'm going to put up on the screen right now. If you're watching on YouTube and if you're watching on Facebook, you'll see it scrolling across the bottom. Hit the Six Screens website. It'll give you all the information you need about the convention. And we're all looking forward to it. We get close to 300 people already signed up and ready to come. We'll be able to accommodate about 500 people. So by all means, if you're interested in coming up to the ex-Jehovah's Witness Convention, still alive in 2025, well, by all means, write me at JW World News, and we'll get you tickets. The tickets are free. So by all means, tell me how many tickets you need, and we'll send them off to you. So that's a good thing. We're really looking forward to it. I get people that are really saying, Rick, I can hardly wait. It's going to be good. I mean, why wouldn't it be? Well, isn't it nice being in company that's just like you and have many people have experienced the same things that you've experienced? You've experienced a lot of hardship and difficulties, I'm sure, being in the watchtower, and even many, sad to say, even when they leave the watchtower, they experience a lot of turbulence in their life because of being shunned and family members not connecting with you. So this is kind of like a little safe spot where many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses can come to talk and in real time. And boy, we got to have quite the community here. We've all built up really good friendships with a lot of people. And I have to tell you, it's helped everybody, including myself. So thank all those that have been part of the Six Screens community and those that want to speak up and talk. That makes all the difference in the world. Well, we're broadcasting on a number of platforms right now, and we're glad to do that. It hasn't always been this way. We at one time only went on the telephone. And wow, that was remarkable. If you go roll the clocks back 20 years ago, we all got together on the telephone. And boy, we had big audiences then, but it got better. It got better with YouTube and Facebook allowing people to live stream. So that opened up a whole new altitude for us. We went really high with that. It worked out really well. Well, let's take a look here. Let's see what's going on in the Jehovah's Witness world. And you say, well, why do we all have a fetish? Why do we all have this obsession to find out what's going on behind the curtains of the watchtower? I'm not quite sure. I can only speak for myself. But, when I was leaving the watchtower, I couldn't get enough of what this crazy organization was doing. And I got thinking, well, why is that? And why do people come in here and listen? We get a lot of people listening to this right now, and a lot of the same stuff they hear over and over again. But why are they here? Why are you here? Why am I here? Well, I got thinking about that, and I think the reason why I'm here is this organization has caused so many problems in people's lives. Now, my life, I'm not going to tell you that every problem I ever had was caused by the watchtower. So sometimes I hear that from people calling in, but I've lived a good life. I'm 76 years old. I have a beautiful wife. I had a really nice lady too I was married to that died in 2012. Her name was Inez. Many people know her. And I've got 5 children, and I live a decent life. I have a little business. I'm very happy where I live up here in Massachusetts. I love the climate. It gets a little cold in the winter, but I have a lot to be thankful for. And even as Anne Marie was talking to people last night on her program, what you have to be thankful for, I'm very thankful for that. And I really appreciate being out of the watchtower. And I'm glad that I didn't leave God behind. That's my only message to people. Now, I don't preach to people, you know that, but I really would like people to stay with God when you leave the watchtower. Just because they gave you false teachings doesn't mean that you have to run away from God. Why were we all going to the Kingdom Hall? That's another thing I often think about. Well, why did we all go to the Kingdom Hall? Well, I guess we all had different reasons. Some people went to the Kingdom Hall for camaraderie. Am I saying that right? Camaraderie. Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking we went there so we could, all be in union with one another, so to speak. And it was like a little brotherhood. And we all felt like, wow, we're connecting. We're all part of something. See, people want to be part of something. That's the whole story of life. If no one wants to be a loner. No one wants to be, the only man. That woman that's involved with something, you like to contact people and talk to people that involved in the same thing you are, and that's what connects. That's what the watchtower, and that's how we all became like brothers and sisters in the watchtower. Kind of similar here too. We have a little community, as we said earlier. But what I was thinking too, when this organization gets embedded in your head, and you've been a witness for many years, it's kind of hard even to shake out all of that false teachings that they put in there. So consequently, we still have some residual watchtower feelings, thoughts floating around in our inner mind, so to speak. And, as we get together here on the weekends and talk about these things, we can start to flush it out. So I'm pretty good. I feel pretty good today about having it all flushed out. When I first got out of it, though, when Satan kicked me out of his organization back in 2005, it wasn't that way. It was very, very difficult. Even when you left the watchtower, even as I did earlier, 2005, when I said I left the watchtower, was a lot more in there. I didn't know what to do. I still love God. I didn't know, how do I reconnect with him? Is there anybody that can kind of help me with that? So I found some people that were willing to help me. I went to the Witnesses Now for Jesus convention in Pennsylvania and met a man by the name of Jay Hess, who has a program here on the 6 Screens. Will be coming up today, and met him, and he helped me with some of the basic tenets of Christianity. But friends, I have to tell you that nobody has all the answers in Christianity either. So, don't think that, I'm a Christian now and you're going to understand everything. It's a learning process, and you will be taught as you go along. But anyways, let's get into the news. Let's take a look at what's going on behind the curtains of the watchtower. Now, friends, I have to tell you, the door-to-door ministry is no longer alive. Really, stop and think about it. I've been getting reports coming in here to the 6 Screens on how the service groups at the Kingdom Halls are dwindling. Now, just to reiterate and give you some thoughts on service groups, when you were a witness and you went to the book study, do you remember going to a person's house and you were assigned to that person's house? I was assigned to the Winchester group. So we had a book study at the Winchester's house. And then on Saturday, what we would all do, our group would meet at the Kingdom Hall. So they would count us as a group, a service group. And sometimes we had 4 or 5 service groups meeting at once, sometimes 6 or 7, all of the Bible studies around that we're having in houses, meeting as Jehovah's Witnesses and studying on a Thursday or Tuesday night, would meet at the Kingdom Hall on Saturday and Sunday. Now, that is almost gone the way of the buffalo. The service groups are not meeting like they used to. As a matter of fact, information coming into the 6 screens, the service groups are all, well, for one thing, they don't have the Bible studies in people's homes like they did, but they still kind of break people off into segments. But these segments just aren't meeting like they used to when you and I were Jehovah's Witnesses. As a matter of fact, I'm getting reports now that when people meet on Saturday to go out on service, the door-to-door work, you only have 1 or 2 people showing up. That would be very unusual. I can remember, and, I don't want to sound like an old timer here, but you guys can remember too, when the service groups used to be pretty big. People showing up for service on Saturday. I can remember sometimes, 30, 40, 50, 60 people even, especially when the circuit overseer came. But those days are gone. People are not wanting to go out in the door-to-door work. And really, why would they? It's really not a good thing to do. I mean, I went out, I tolerated it. I didn't hate it, but a lot of people did, including many elders' wives, and many elders even hated it. But we all did it, right? You did it, I did it, we all did it. But there's such a big decline in the door-to-door activity. And I'm getting people writing me saying, Rick, you ought to see our Kingdom Hall on a Saturday and Sunday. Nobody's going out anymore. So I got to think, why is this? Well, why is it that nobody wants to go out and service anymore? I suppose you could come up with a lot of reasons. Folks, I have to tell you, it's dangerous going out. Really, the world has become a very dangerous place. You go knocking on people's doors. You don't know what people are doing. Geez, they could be selling drugs there. They could be bootlegging alcohol. They could be doing pornographic films in their house. Who knows what's going on? So you're an uninvited guest. So you knock on the door. You don't know what's going to happen. And most people are frightened. The door-to-door salesperson is gone. Remember when the bread man, the milk man, the insurance man, the Avon lady, well, we had all these people who used to come to our door. Neighbors would knock on your door. Today, nobody really knocks on your door. Even Amazon doesn't. They just drop the packages off and run. So people aren't used to people knocking on their door. So it's going to be very awkward for Jehovah's Witnesses going door to door and, really wondering who's behind the door. And then you're spooking people out. People don't know who you are either. So people won't even come to the door. And how many times when you were a witness did you write home but hiding on your report sheet in service? Home but hiding. And I did. You wrote it right on the report sheet you had that you turned in. And a lot of people don't even answer the door. So that's one reason why Jehovah's Witnesses don't go door to door. It's dangerous. And it also presents an element of risk for people out there. Even, let me put it this way to you. The watchtower doesn't seem to really be pushing the door-to-door ministry. It can create a lot of issues for them. And now what they have is the checkbox ministry. Now the way they're reporting time now is, remember before, the service overseer would call you up at the end of the month. Hey, Brother Ferrin, how many hours did you get in this month? Oh, geez, brother, I only got 6 hours in. No, come on, you did more than that. They'd always try to pump the numbers up. But I was honest. But, you had to report how many hours, how many Bible studies, how many return visits, all of that baloney. You had to report all of that to the service overseer. But now you don't have to do that. You do not have to do that. All you have to do today, it's called checkbox ministry. At the end of the month, the service overseer, he'll ask you to check a box. Now, you don't have to tell him you got 5 hours in, 10 hours in, 5 minutes in. All you do is he'll say, can I check the box for you? Should I put a check mark that you're out in the ministry? Yeah, brother, go ahead, put a check box there. A check mark in the box. Now, that's pretty easy. But what went on when we were witnesses? Man, we had to huff it. We had to, walk all over the neighborhood, cold days, hot days, knock on doors. It was brutal. It was brutal. But, so I say the checkbox ministry has really put kind of an end to the door-to-door ministry. But also, see, many people, they love doing the cart work. They go to the Kingdom Hall, they get their little cart, they put literature in there, and they take it out on the street corner. And many witnesses like doing that because basically you can count time for just standing there. They're not encouraged. Now, I want you to know this. When you're a Jehovah's Witness doing cart work, the organization does not want you approaching people. So suppose you pull up to a busy street corner. You can't go out and say, hey, sir, would you like to come over and talk to me about the watchtower? You can't do that. All you're supposed to do, even according to watchtower protocol, is you got to stand next to the cart and hope that somebody comes up to you. Now, people have been writing me and giving me information about people who do the cart work. And I got information here yesterday from a young brother, and he said that, he asked in his Kingdom Hall, the people who do the cart work, he says, are you guys successful with that cart work? Do you get people coming up and talking to you and want to study the Bible? And the people doing the cart work, the witnesses said, no, we don't get that. We don't get a lot of people coming in. They're not standing in line to talk to us. But what their comment was, we don't get people talking to us, but we sure get a lot of waves and smiles. Is that enough to bring a person, as the witnesses would say, to true Christianity? A wave and a smile? Nobody wants to talk to the witnesses. How culty looking is that? Standing on a corner of the street with a preaching cart. No, but it's a good way for them to get time in, especially a pioneer. See, but people are figuring out there's better ways to spend your time than going out knocking on doors all over the place and participating in the Jehovah's Witness ministry. There's better ways of spending your time. I think you'll all agree with that. If you're out of the watchtower now, isn't it nice on a Saturday morning? Do you enjoy Saturday mornings? You get up. Hey, you can get up a little later. You can say, geez, I'm going to have a good day today. I'm going to take a nice little ride down the street with my wife or my husband. We're going to enjoy the day. We go to breakfast somewhere, have a nice time. You couldn't do that as a witness. You kidding me? You'd wake up in the morning, come on. And of course, my family had 5 children. So, geez, I'd be waking, come on, kids, get up, gotta get going now. We're going to go in service. Geez, so the mother would be polishing their shoes, braiding their hair, putting the dresses on. And really, what a lot of work. It's a chore. And then you rush down the Kingdom Hall. You have to, eat breakfast on the way, some toast, some coffee. You just feel crappy. It's a Saturday morning. You worked all week. You're looking to, have a little relaxation. You never get it being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So you run down there and then, okay, Brother Farron, you take the car group over here. Oh, my goodness. And then we all started trying to find ways to count our time without really doing a lot of work. Do you remember that? So we all had little tricks. I had a little trick. You guys had a trick. Some people would, before they went to the Kingdom Hall, even to meet for service, they would stop at the laundromat. Yeah, laundromat ministry is what I used to call it. They'd stop at the laundromat on the way to the Kingdom Hall for service, and they'd leave some magazines on top of the washers and dryers, and then they would leave. And the clock started. So the clock starts, they go to the Kingdom Hall, the meeting there, the time is still clicking. So, they're getting, more hours. And it's kind of like cheating, right? I would say it's cheating, but I wouldn't do it, but some people did it. And then, after a while, as I was getting close and Satan was getting ready to kick me out of his organization, I started playing some similar games. I found a woman that wanted to study the Bible with me. She was a customer of mine in business, and she was like 45 minutes away. So what I would do is I meet on Saturday morning, and I go on the door-to-door work, and I probably spend a half hour. Then I say, okay, group, I got to go make some return visits. So I get in my car, and I drive 45 minutes away, and the clock is still ticking. Yeah, clock is still ticking. So I would get, a lot of hours in doing that. And a lot of people did the same thing. They drove all over the place, making return visits and pretending that, they're out in service. And people played all kinds of games with that. Maybe you did too. Maybe you did too. I think most people did. And not only that, I talked about this last night. Up here in Massachusetts, we live in cold country, but there are places that get a lot colder than Massachusetts. But Mass is cold too. It's not, it's not Florida. And there's many people in the northern tier states that would go out in service when it's freezing cold. I mean, really cold. And I can remember going out in service when it was 2-3 below zero, and the wind is blowing and howling, and they didn't cancel it. Come on, let's get going. Let's meet for service. But I'm thinking how cruel that was to not only the witnesses having to go out in that weather, but also to the people at the doors. You're opening the door at 2 below zero with the wind blowing. All the cold air is going to go into the householder's door, the house. But, we didn't. I thought about it. I used to feel awkward. I used to feel very disrespectful, and I felt kind of like intrusive. I was an uninvited guest on a 2 below zero day, opening a door and hoping someone would talk to me. And then you insist on reading them scriptures, and geez, the people were getting, some people wanted to be nice. They wouldn't tell you, hey, sir, forgive me, but I'm freezing my house out here. I can't talk now. But most people were nice. But then I often thought about the sisters, sisters in the cold climate up here, whether it's in Massachusetts, Michigan, Wisconsin, wherever you are, where it's cold, Minnesota, Maine, up here anywhere where it's really cold, they couldn't wear, leggings or pants, so to speak, slacks, that they had to wear a skirt or a dress with nylons. And, a man, he could put long johns on under his, regular pants, and he'd be plenty good. He'd feel pretty warm. But the sisters couldn't do that. So it was a hardship for them. And not only that, they wouldn't cancel, even in inclement weather. I can remember being out even when it was snowing. Now, it didn't seem to stop a lot of witnesses. They kept going. I'm not trying to exaggerate here, friends. You can put yourself into this story, because if you were a witness, you went out many days where it was really terrible. As a matter of fact, I remember one day, it wasn't in service, but it was for an assembly that we're having. And the assembly hall was 35 miles from where I live. And it was a cold February day. I can still remember it. It was freezing cold, and it was snowing to beat the band. I don't mean a few flakes here or there. I mean accumulating snow, like an inch an hour at least, Adam. It was snowing like crazy. And so I was wondering, are we still going to have the assembly? So I called the assembly hall. And so brother answered the phone, and I says, hi, my name's Rick, Brother Farron, I'm calling up. I live 35 miles away from the assembly hall, and it's really snowing bad. Is it going to be an assembly there today? Oh, yes, of course, Brother Farron, there's going to be an assembly here today. We love Jehovah. Some snow is not going to hold us back. But, you got to travel 35 miles in a snowstorm. I'm going to call it a storm, okay? So we had to travel 35 miles to get to the assembly hall. See, that's what they put the witnesses through. They had no feeling for you. So how did you feel about it when you were in service? Do you remember going out on a cold day? Do you remember saying, hey, I wish they would cancel field service today? What about you? I'd like to hear what you think. What do you think? Hit *6. Yes.
It's Grace from Sweden. As you know, we had a visit from the circuit overseer, and he tried to encourage people to go out in the door-to-door ministry. But I was just thinking, if less and less people are showing up, it might be, disheartening for him. Nobody... If only a few people show up, that might make them a bit like thinking, what are we doing wrong? And also, about the circuit overseer, as you said, they merge congregations. It's 3 congregations has shut down in my area. So now when the circuit overseer comes to my city, he has to attend not 2 congregations, but now we have 3 congregations in the same hall, but different times. And so I noticed about this circuit overseer because we were the 3rd congregation he went to. And he really looked tired. He could barely have his eyes open on the scene. He looked really beat down. So as you say, Rick, there are more people they have to attend to. Even if the area hasn't grown, there are more people that he has to attend to. So it's not easy to be a circuit overseer these days, I think.
No, it's not. Many circuit overseers have thrown the towel in, Grace. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. But now you live in Sweden, and I know it's a cold state.
They put the windows in.
Did you go out in service? Was freezing cold?
Well, you know, I tried, but I wasn't allowed to go out. I tried to, but they wouldn't allow me. But I mean, I noticed, I talked to other people and I noticed things. And about this, it's not only the circuit overseer. I have noticed that several people on the scene, they look so tired. And these are young men. All these men are young men. Almost everybody is young men. And they look all beaten down and tired. So, I mean, I think it's really hard to be a witness these days. And also, I was thinking one more thing about this circuit overseer, that he actually said to people, don't borrow money. And that can be a good advice if you live in an uncertain reality, and maybe that's a good thing to say to some families. But other families, it can be bad advice. Maybe they have saved some money and they want to borrow just a little and get the house. And now he's telling everybody, don't borrow money. I mean, it's not his business to say to everybody. And it's like, I think it's about this, like, the end is near, so don't borrow money. And there was another thing I was thinking about, that this is on a personal note. I just looked in my files from the time when I started to wake up. And I noticed that on 2 different occasions, they had told me to get psychiatric medicine. Well, they didn't tell me if it was Prozac or what it was I was supposed to eat, but they actually advised me to eat medicine. And I have heard that many Jehovah's Witnesses eat medicine, and maybe that's one of the reasons it's encouraged. And I forgot this, but I read my old notes, but I do remember that they created a big gap between me and my mother because she wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, and that caused some problems. So, but it could also have been that maybe they thought I was too opinionated. I don't know why they wanted me to eat medicine really, but it was just weird when I read my papers now. Otherwise, I don't have anything more. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Grace, for sharing that with us. No doubt. I mean, when you're talking about the borrowing money, what he might have been referring to, because I can remember even in my Kingdom Hall at one time, it was actually an elder got up and he said a lot of the brothers and sisters were borrowing money from one another. A lot of the brothers, and that's going on right now. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are hurting because of the economy, the way it is, and the high prices. So a lot of witnesses, they don't have good jobs. They don't make a lot of money. So they're borrowing. There's a lot of borrowing going on in the Jehovah's Witness world right now. So
Hey, Rick.
hold on one second. So what happens is when people borrow, some of them couldn't pay back. So the witnesses would be upset with one another. So the overseer said, look, if a person needs $20, just give it to them. Don't even bother borrowing. Don't even bother lending it because you might not get it back. So I think that's what the circuit overseer might have been doing. You'll go ahead. Is that Marty? Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, listen, I just happened to drive by that old Kingdom Hall and took a couple pictures, and I'll put a little program together. Would you like me to send that to you so you can put it on and show people what happened to the Kingdom Hall?
Yeah, of course. Send me the pictures. Send me the pictures, and send them to JW World News.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually go knock on the door and let me in and everything. I'm gonna see if they'll let me, because I just went by there and I took a couple of just exterior shots. They have a fence put around it and everything. It's amazing. It looks like kind of like a house, but you can tell it's still the Kingdom Hall.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I'll send it to. Yeah, you just give me an address or whatever. I'll send it to your.
JW World News. JW World News at Gmail.
JW World News, right? Okay.
Okay.
That's all I want to know.
All right. Thank you, Marty. Good man, Marty. That's Marty. Well, he was just on the program earlier. Well, we want to thank Grace too for calling. Thank you, Marty. Yeah, so there you have it. I mean, a lot of things are going on. Kingdom Hall, they're not getting the people showing up for service. But, on the other hand, and Grace was talking about it, Kingdom Hall's emerging. They're coming together. And, I got thinking of this even yesterday. I started thinking about the Kingdom Halls in my area that have shut down. And, I didn't really give much thought about it. But, I've had 4 of them that I know of right in my little area right here in eastern Massachusetts that have actually shut down. And, this is not, when I've said it a million times here in the 6 screens, that's not the sign of growth. The organization keeps bragging that, we're growing so much and we're getting so many witnesses and Jehovah's Chariot is on the move. Is it really? I mean, if General Motors came out and said, look, we can't keep cars in stock. We need more people to make cars. We are just having a real explosion of business. But yet at the same time, they're shutting General Motors dealerships down. Come on. I mean, does the Watchtower think people are stupid? I really do. I think at times the Watchtower thinks people are stupid. Look, we can see the handwriting on the wall that the Watchtower Corporation, as we know it, is in trouble. Now, I'm not going to tell you that they're financially broke. I'm not going to go that far. But I'm going to tell you that they're really starting to realize that this organization's better days are behind it. That they're realizing the internet is the great equalizer. People know too much about the Jehovah's Witnesses today. That hasn't always been the case. 20 years ago, nobody really knew much about them, even 10 years ago. But with everything going on today in the world of technology, with AI, have you put into Chat GPT, Jehovah's Witnesses? Nothing comes up good. Nothing. I mean, every bit of information that's gathered on the witnesses is really giving them a tarnished image. And wouldn't you stop and think about this? We're living in a modern day. This isn't, 1985 anymore. This is 2024. So if some person came to your door, or maybe you contacted them at the witness cart, however you talk to a Jehovah's Witness, maybe at work, and they're trying to recruit you. Don't you think the first thing you would do, you don't even have to wait to get home to get on your computer. You can do it on your phone. You just punch in Jehovah's Witnesses. Are they good? And you are going to get a mouthful of information. And then when you get that information, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to join an organization that has all these bad reports and what's happening with child abuse and shunning all over the world? It'd be like reviews. My wife, before she buys anything, she's a shopper. Before she buys anything, she always looks at the reviews on Amazon and reviews what she's going to buy to see how many stars. I mean, she's got pretty used to this, even when it comes to buying a pizza. Well, Rick, they only get 3 stars. They only get 2 stars. She's looking for 5 stars. So how many stars do Jehovah's Witnesses have on their record? Very little, very few stars. As a matter of fact, who is going to buy into it? Only a person that doesn't have any access to information, only a person that's so lonely and so distressed, they'll try anything in life. I mean, there are people like that too. There are people like that, folks, that birds of a feather flock together. Maybe a person suffering from whatever, and they feel that, oh, geez, the Jehovah's Witness organization, even though I know they have issues, I'm willing to be with them because the people are friendly. I've heard that too. I'm willing to be a Jehovah's Witness. I'll overlook their bad things, but I like the way people are. Well, there are people. That's a fact. I've had people come on this program and say that's that very thing. Well, you're on JW World News, Sunday edition, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. And I see all these halls, like I say, closing around. Now, what really is of interest to me is a lot of these halls. In fact, even one in particular here in my area, it's in Drake, Massachusetts. It was a Kingdom Hall, and they sold it off to a Christian group, an African Christian group that now meets there. And I mentioned this last night, and I'm going to mention it again because it's something that really has ticked me off. The Jehovah's Witnesses are so willing to sell a Kingdom Hall to false religion instead of even tearing it down. They will sell it off to false religion. Of course, it's for profit. Of course, it's hypocrisy at its best. And what even aggravates me to the highest order is, when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, you couldn't even work in a church. For example, suppose you were a plumber and the church wanted you to be the plumber for the church and fix the pipes and make sure the heating system is working and all of that. You couldn't accept that job. I was in the sign business, and, churches wanted me to make signs for them. They wanted to get certain things done, their buses lettered up and what have you. But being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, that could get you in big trouble. They did not want you doing any of that because it was all false religion. But yet at the same time, they're selling churches or their Kingdom Halls off to churches. Isn't there something wrong with that? It's do as I say, not as I do. And that's even worse. I think that's worse. You're taking a Kingdom Hall that was supposedly dedicated to Jehovah God, and you're selling it off to false religious organization. But you couldn't, suppose you're a landscaping guy and you're busting your butt, mowing lawns and raking up leaves. And so the church is going to really pay you a good sum of money to take care of their property. Could you do it? No, you couldn't. But yet, sell a Kingdom Hall off to a Muslim, a mosque, or to a Buddhist temple. They did it. I've even seen one online that was sold off, and it became a pot dispensary where they sell marijuana. So, really stop and think about it. Is that fair? You couldn't even take a dime from Christendom for doing a job, but they're taking, in some cases, millions of dollars selling off Kingdom Halls that were dedicated to Jehovah. And it doesn't stop there. It does. I mean, they wouldn't even let you swim in the YMCA because of its connection to false religion. You could have been disfellowshipped for joining and swimming in the YMCA. And even when it comes to the United Nations, they wouldn't let you participate or go to the library of the United Nations. They wouldn't want you to even participate in anything the United Nations had to offer, but here they were a part of it. What hypocrisy. Can you see what I'm saying here? How does that make you feel? Do you think that's the true religion? Would true religion do that to you? And it's just out of control. The watchtower, I'm surprised I stayed in as long as I did. Really, I'm beginning to think that I must have had a couple of screws loose or something. How can you stay in an organization that is so clear to see their problems, just like the problems I just showed you? And now another problem that we see on the horizon here, and we've been talking about it. I don't have time to play the clip here today, but we played it last night on the 6 screens. It has to do with the Ramapo property Jehovah's Witnesses own up in Ramapo, New York. Let me just clear my throat, excuse me. So it has to do with the Ramapo property up in New York. It's only a mile or two away from the world headquarters in Warwick. but we've talked about it. It's a 249-acre property where the Jehovah's Witnesses are planning, and they're going forward with a massive video production studio. It's they got the okay on it just 2 weeks ago, so they're going forward with it. And I saw a clip. Excuse me 1 second. I'm just going to take a look here at my phone. Sometimes when I'm on the phone, when I'm on the program, they call in. If it's not okay, yeah, we're gonna stop there. It's just a spam call. You guys get spam calls too, right? But anyways, what we have here is a watchtower building this massive video studio. Do they really need it? The answer, I would say no. They're producing videos already at Warwick. But here's what I'm thinking. They showed this news clip. The local news station, Channel 12, out of wherever up there in New York, went and did a story about the watchtower. It was about a 2-minute piece on this massive studio, what they're going to do, and it's going to be green, and they're going to have solar panels, and they're going to do all of the stuff that, is meeting the energy requirements of the area. And so consequently, what I'm finding here is they are going forward with it. They are going to do everything they can to get the Jehovah's Witnesses to give the money they can to support this. Now, get a load of the price. The price is floating around there. Well, they start at $250 million, and they go all the way up to $500 million. Of course, that's $500 million. Now, what I'm seeing here is, Jehovah's Witness organization right now, they're having a hard time even getting people to pass the microphones at a Kingdom Hall. That they have sisters passing mics. They're having a hard time even getting the brothers to pass them. They're having a hard time getting elders. They're having a hard time getting ministerial servants. So now what they want to do is they want to have all of these volunteers come in, all free labor, and build this facility, all on free labor. And I'm wondering, with all the trouble they're having, even getting people to pass a mic, how are they going to get all these people to come in and perform all of this work for them? I don't know if it's really going to happen. I don't know if this is some type of a scam or what, but when you stop and think about it, do they really need it? I mean, all that money. Well, look at what they could do for the poor Jehovah's Witnesses. Look what they could do for all of the people that have been so loyal to them through the years. They could take that money and help the witnesses. They're not going to do it. Other churches, they give out clothes. They feed the poor people around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Look at the Salvation Army, Samaritan's Purse. They have meals prepared for people. The Watchtower doesn't do anything like that. Nothing at all. And what I feel they're doing is they're really getting on the teller evangelistic bandwagon. They want to become teller evangelists. That they want to be able to somehow make money on these videos they're putting out. And you guys know, many people listening to this program today, you subscribe to Peacock, Fox Nation, Paramount, different Warner Brothers streaming. So, the Watchtower sees big money in streaming. That is the future. People are cutting their cable and they're going to streaming. You can buy a streaming service for $15, $20, $30 a month. It's a lot cheaper than cable, right? So the Watchtower says, man, I see money coming down pike here. Let's go for it. I believe they'll start streaming and charging money. Once they build this televangelistic community up there and they start putting these streams out of Jehovah's Witness content, they could charge the witnesses. And, they claim they have 9 million. Let's just say they have 5 million. They could check, and every witness will subscribe. I mean, you know that, right? Every witness would subscribe if it was $29 a month or $39 a month. But I think it would be more like 29. And they'll charge the witnesses, and plus they'll probably also charge the witnesses for digital formats to be able to print their books. If you want a certain book, you're going to pay, $1.50, and we'll send you the digital format and print it out. So this is what I see happening. This is not far-fetched, friends. This is what a lot of people think. So I think it's only a matter of time, and we're going to see Watchtower into streaming. I think that's what this is all about. If you're a company, and the Watchtower is a company, let's just get that straight. It's not a religion. We've always said it's masquerading as a religion, but it's a company. And what companies have to do, they have to look downstream, that they have to see what's the world going to be like 5 years from now. The world 5 years from now is really not going to have a lot of people going to church. It's not going to have a lot of people going to a Kingdom Hall. They're going to have to get their spiritual information out other ways. And more churches are going to the streaming service. You get stuff online. So the Watchtower doesn't want to be the last one to the finish line here. They want to start getting there pretty quick so they can take advantage of this. So they see a whole pool of money waiting for them. So they're looking, they're thinking, well, we can invest the 500,000 or 500 million. We can put $500 million. We'll get $5 billion back. I mean, they're business. They got to think like that. So, I just want to bring that to your attention, that they are really starting to feel the effects of a modern society. Now, this modern society, the Watchtower finds themselves in, it can be a make or break. The modern society, because of the internet being the great equalizer, it could tank the Watchtower. But if they do it smoothly, and they can pull some of these tricks off on the witnesses and keep them away from apostate information, that they might be able to get this place built. But I'm still hesitant. It's a great way. It's a great fundraiser. You just tell the witnesses, we're building this giant facility, and your children, they might even have a chance of being a movie star with the Watchtower. And, it's going to give some excitement. Oh, honey, get the checkbook out. Write him a check for $200. That could happen very, very easily. All you got to do is get people excited. Isn't that what the world does? I mean, you see these car commercials. I mean, do they really talk much about the car? No, they show a pretty girl, a handsome guy driving down the road. Boy, it's beautiful sunset. They make everything look good. That's what you have to do in the world of business. That's exactly what the Watchtower is doing now. They're making everything look as good as they possibly can. Boy, I'm telling you, the more we go over this stuff, the more it kind of frustrates you, yeah? Do you get frustrated by it all? I'll tell you what, does anyone have any thoughts? We got a few minutes left here. I might not get into some other stories, but does anyone have any thoughts? Anyone want to share some information that maybe they know? Well, what do you guys think? Hit *6 if you'd like to come on. Hit *6. Come on, say hello to us. If not, I'm going to just tell you what I feel. Then we got a program coming up here very shortly, the Christian Court, on our Sunday lineup here. But I got thinking, what are the two worst Watchtower publications that I have read in my lifetime? And I was a Jehovah's Witness for 50 years of my life. I'm 76 years old now. And I told you guys, Satan kicked me out of the organization back in 2005. But I was thinking the other day, well, there's so much garbage in the Jehovah's Witness publications. But I'm thinking, what were the two worst articles ever published by the Watchtower? And I have to say the worst one. I'm going to give this number one. If we have time, we'll go to number two. But it had to do with a question from readers. And remember how they used to do that in the Watchtower, question from readers. And this particular article was back in 1952. I got to roll the clocks back. 1952, and it was the November 15th edition of the Watchtower. Now, I want you to read this. I'm reading it right verbatim from the Watchtower. And this is what the question was from a so-called reader, if it's even true. But it says here, in the case of where a father or mother or son or daughter is disfellowshipped, how should such persons be treated by members of the family in their family relationship? So that question was asked by PC from Ontario, Canada. So the Watchtower answers back, we are not living today among theocratic nations where such members of our fleshly family relationships could be exterminated for apostasy from God and his theocratic organization, as was possible and was ordered in the nation of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai in the land of Palestine. So then it goes on to say, thou shalt certainly kill them. Thou shalt certainly kill the apostates. Thy hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hand of all the people. So the first one would throw the stone, and then the rest of the people who considered one be apostate would throw the rest of the stones. They would kill him with stones because he was straying away from Jehovah. So then it says here, being limited by the laws of the worldly nations in which we live, and also by the laws of God through Jesus Christ, we can take action against apostates only to a certain extent. That is consistent with both sets of laws. The laws of the land and God's law through Christ forbid us to kill apostates, even though they be members of our own flesh and blood family relationships. However, God's law requires us to recognize there being disfellowship from his congregation, and this despite the fact that the law of the land in which we live requires us under some natural obligation to live with and have dealings with such apostates under the same roof. That is the worst watchtower ever, in my estimation, to be written. Friends, what they're saying there, and I'm not misinterpreting it, I am in no way trying to over-embellish it. They say that what I extract from that publication is the fact that if the laws of the land actually allowed for Jehovah's Witnesses to kill a person who left the watchtower and became an apostate, they would do it. They would do it if the laws of the land, and then they bring Jesus in too, that his laws kind of changed all that. But what I get from it all is I still get the fact they'd kill you. And even though they haven't killed me, I mean, I'm apostate. I've been disfellowship for apostasy. No one's trying to kill me, but, they try to spiritually kill you. They try to disconnect your family members. They will not look at you as you walk down the street. So, they have their own little game they play with this. But that, in my way of thinking, was the worst Watchtower article ever written. That was the November 15th, 1952 Watchtower. I don't have time for the second one, but that was the worst one that I came across. Well, we're going to go to the Christian court right now. That's another program we have here on the 6 screens. But don't go running off because you hear the word Christian. We have a good time in the Christian court. There's a lot of peculiar questions that Christians want answered. Sometimes they don't know what to do. In the Jehovah's Witness organization, of course, the organization would tell you this is what you do and you followed it. But in Christianity, sometimes there's points that come up, there's policies and things that you don't know if this is the right road to take or what. So stay with us. The Christian court is coming up next, right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. So thank you for coming in. Thank you for being part of our program here today. And stay with us for the court on the same YouTube and Facebook channels, as well as our radio telephone network. Thank you very much. Let's end that right here. So now we're going to go